Good day children, and welcome back to the lesson, that is fourth lesson, effects of British rule. In the previous lecture we have learnt about the Britishers, how they gained control over the Marathas also. Then we've learnt about the Chhatrapati Pratap Singh. Okay, now we are going to learn something else about the British rule in India, that is the dual government. Let's see what were the effects of British rule on India. The first thing is dual government. Dual, the word itself dual here means double. Okay, double government was being established in India. Robert Clive, he introduced the dual government system in Bengal first. Okay, Robert Clive, British officer, introduced the dual government system in Bengal first. According to which, what is this dual government system? The dual government system means the company undertook the revenue collection. Okay, according to this dual government, the company had taken the revenue collection in their own hands. While if you look after the maintenance, the law and order in Bengal was in the hands of the Nawab of Bengal. So two governments were going side by side, that is called as dual government. The company undertook the revenue collection, whereas the Nawab of Bengal had to maintain law and order. This is known as dual government. What were the ill effects of this dual government? Let's see. Okay. Now, if in your class, if you talk about your class, in your class 2 monitors are there. Okay. Both the monitors are giving you 2 different instructions. Will you all be in confusion or no? Yes, correct. You all will be in confusion. So same thing happened over here also. Okay, two parallel government were being taking place in Bengal. That is the dual government. So the people were confused to whom to listen, whether they had to listen to the Britishers or whether they had to listen to the Nawab over there. Here is a picture of Robert Clive. Okay, who had introduced the dual government. Now let's see ill effects of the dual government. First thing, money in the form of revenue went into the pockets of the company officers. Okay, now as you all know, whatever revenue is collected from any place or any state, for what the revenue is being used? The revenue is used for the welfare of the people. What the people need, for that reason we collect the revenue. But here what was happening? The money was going in the hands of the officers and they were putting the money in their own pockets and going away. While if you see, the king was not having any money only. The Nawab over here was not having any money only to look after the people. The monopoly of trade was also given to the East India Company. Okay, what's the meaning of monopoly over here? The right. The dictatorship, the one ship. Okay, monopoly here means the one person. One-handed trade. Okay, the monopoly of trade was one-handedly in the hands of the East India Company. Hence, many trading companies in England envied them. Okay, they were jealous of them. Okay, they were angry upon them because the total monopoly was there in the hands of the East India Company. So their country only, England, they were only envying them. Okay, so what happened? The East India Company received criticism in England. Okay, the people over there, the traders over there in England, they started criticizing the East India Company. And the British Parliament waived many laws, because of which what happened? Because the traders started objecting to this East India Company. What did the British Parliament do? They waived laws against them now. Certain laws were made which were put on this East India Company to keep a control over this company. Okay, so what were the ill effects of the dual government? Money in the form of revenue went in the pockets of the company officers, and there was hardly any money with the Nawabs, who could not do anything for the people. Second thing was the monopoly of trade was given to the East India Company, because of which the companies in England, they envied them. Third thing, the East India Company received criticism in England. and British Parliament made laws to keep control over the company. You can see a king, a local ruler, okay, along with a British officer. Okay, it was always that the British officer only looked after every decision of the king. The king was just like an what we can say, like a puppet. Okay, the king was a puppet in the hands of the British. He had no power at all. He was powerless. Okay, he was just like an officer over there, and the Britishers were the kings over there. So it was just the opposite. So let's see about the parliamentary laws. According to the Regulating Act of 1773, whoever was the Governor General in Bengal, came to be the Governor General of the East India Company. Okay, according to the Regulating Act of 1773, whoever was the Governor in Bengal came to be known as the Governor General of the full East India Company. According to this, who became the Governor General? Lord Warren Hastings. Okay, according to this, Lord Warren Hastings became the Governor General of India. He got the right to control the policies of Mumbai, Madras, okay, these big cities we can say. Mumbai and Madras provinces, okay, came under the direct control of this Governor General. A committee of 4 members was set up to assist him. He was not going to do the work on his own. So a committee was made of 4 members to assist him, to help him out. Okay, according to parliamentary laws, these were the provisions done, or these were the changes brought about. In 1784, what happened? Pitt's India Act was passed. Okay, in 1784, an act was passed, that is the Pitt's India Act was passed, which provided appointment of a permanent board of control. Okay, a permanent type of control, board control for better regulation and management of the affairs of the East India Company came into being. Okay, 1784, Pitt's India Act was passed, according to which a permanent board was appointed to manage or keep a control over the affairs of the East India Company. So, according to this, in 1813, in 1833 and in 1853, new laws were passed for changes in the company. Just to keep a proper control over this East India Company and for the management of this company, there were 3 laws passed in 3 years. That is 1813, 1833 and in 1853. As a result, what happened? A new administrative system got developed in India. Okay, because of this changing of laws in the East India Company, what happened? The new administrative system was developed in India, according to which civil services, military, police force and judicial system became the pillars of British administration in India. They were setting up a parliamentary system over here, their own parliamentary system. We have learned in the civics lesson. Okay, so here we are talking about that only. Okay, so parliamentary system as if it was their country only. In that way, they had set up a parliamentary system now over here, on the pillars like civil services, military, police force and judicial system. Okay, let's talk about the civil services. Lord Cornwallis introduced bureaucracy. Okay, Lord Cornwallis, what he did? He introduced bureaucracy. Now what is a bureaucracy? The system of officials. That means he set up many officials for the working of the administration. Civil services became a part of the British government now. For better administration, the British divided the territories into districts now. Now, as you all know, so much of a big part of India was under the British rule. So the administration was also necessary for this big part. So for what did the Britishers do now? they started dividing the territories into districts. For each district, they started appointing a district collector. Now, what was the work of this district collector? The district collector was the chief of the district administration and was responsible for revenue collection, which is the main thing of the British. Okay, you do anything or you don't do anything, but you have to collect the revenue collection first. That was the main aim of the Britishers. So the district collector was appointed mainly for the revenue collection. Then he had to give justice also, and he had to maintain law and order also. That was the work of the district collector. The officers were appointed through competitive exams. Now, as we have seen that Lord Cornwallis had introduced bureaucracy, in that various officers were needed at each level. To appoint the officers at each level, they had to pass out certain exams. Okay, the officers were appointed through competitive exams. There were competitive exams like the ICS, that is the Indian Civil Services. Those who will pass the Indian Civil Services exam will become the officers. Okay. Let's talk about the military and police force of the Britishers. The duty of the military was to safeguard the British occupied regions in India. What is the duty of the military? Was to safeguard, to keep a guard on the British occupied regions in India. Not only this, to acquire more and more territories also. If possible, they have to acquire more and more territories. And if any revolt is there, if anybody is objecting over this, they have to even charge on them and defeat them and break down any revolt against the British in India. So what is the work of the military? The duty of the military was to safeguard the British occupied region in India, acquire new territories, and break down any revolt against the British in India. So three work was given to the military. What about the police force? To maintain law and order in the country was the duty of the police force. As you see, today also we are having only all these duties only in our country. Yes or no? So only when we learned the civics lesson, I had told you the parliamentary system in India was as same to the parliamentary system which was there during the Britishers' time. Okay. The third thing is judicial system. Now, what is the work of the judicial system? In the ancient time, before the Britishers came to India, you all must be knowing, people were self-content over here. They had their own judicial system. Okay, in the villages they were having a panchayat system in which law and order was maintained by the panchayat, justice was given by the panchayat. Okay, so the British established a new judicial system. When the Britishers came, they established a new judicial system in India. Okay, on the basis of what? On the basis of judicial system which was there in England. As the judicial system was there in England, same type of judicial system was started in India also by the Britishers. Every district had a civil and criminal court to solve the local cases. Whatever local cases were there, firstly the local cases used to always go to the panchayat, correct? Now the local cases are going to the civil court or to the criminal court. Even today also we are having the civil court and the criminal court. For reconsideration of their judgment, a high court was established. Yes or no? We have learned about the judiciary system in India. Okay, if we are not satisfied about the decision taking place in the civil court and the criminal court, we can always go for reconsideration in the high court. And today we have the next one, that is the Supreme Court also. Equality before law. Now, what is the meaning of equality before law? Whatever laws were made by the Britishers were different for different. That is, for the European the law was different, and for the Indians the law was different. There were many common people in India who did not know this new laws at all, because they were very much used to going for law in the panchayat, where they don't have to do anything, just go and stand in front of the panchayat. But here the new law system was very much hard for the people to understand. In early times, law in India differed from place to place. Okay, before the Britishers came, law in India, they always differed from place to place. According to the provision, the people used to change the laws. There was difference in judgment on the basis of casteism. Caste system was there in India. We must have learned already, correct? Yes. So there was caste system, and according to the caste system only, judgment was given. The high caste, there was some other judgment. Okay. For the low caste, there was something else. So according to the casteism only, the judgment was given. But under the leadership of Lord, who is this Lord? Lord Macaulay. Okay, under the leadership of Lord Macaulay, a committee was set up to create the code of law. Okay, exactly according to this committee only, the code of law was made. Okay, the Indian Penal Code was enforced all over British India with British principle of equality before law. Now this code, which was made by Lord Macaulay and his committee, was enforced wherever the British were ruling in India, and that only principle was followed everywhere. Separate codes and separate laws for Europeans. I told you about this. There were laws, but the laws were separate for the Europeans and the laws were separate for the Indians. Then the next thing, new laws were not understood by the common people. Yes, as I told you, whatever laws were made, they were not at all understood by the common people. What they are going to go and seek for justice, seek for equality. Legal cases became expensive. Whatever cases were there in the court, they became very much expensive. Okay, now the poor people of India, from where are they going to get so much of money? Okay, and because of this, what happened? The cases remained pending for years together. Okay, until now also we are having the same thing. Okay, till now if you go, there are many cases pending till now in the courts. Okay, so that's all about equality before law. Next, economic policies of the British. Now let's talk about the economic policies of the British. What policies they had started in India. Many invaders settled in India. Before the Britishers came to India, there were many invaders from Afghanistan, okay, and from many other places they had come to India. They came here, they were absorbed in the Indian culture. They were very much happy over here. They got engrossed in the Indian culture. Like you all must be knowing, many of the invaders, mainly from Afghanistan, Greek, okay, they ruled here but did not make any changes. But the Britishers were an exception. Many rulers came here and they went away, but they did not make any changes in India. But here when the Britishers came, they were a little bit extraordinary only. They came here over here as if it was their country only, and they started making changes here. England was a modern nation. We are knowing that. Okay, the inventions and all, the discoveries, the inventions, all that had started in England first. Okay, so England was a modern nation due to industrial revolution. We have learned about this in our second lesson, correct? Then capitalist economy. The economy over here was capitalist, which prevailed here. They inculcated economic system in India. Okay, they tried to inculcate what type of system in India? Economic system in India, which was conducive to economic system in England. What is the meaning of this? They tried to introduce economic system in India such which can help out the economic system in England. Here also they were thinking about their profit only. They were not at all thinking about the profit of India. They had come over here just to help out their own country. Due to this, Britishers gained economic benefit. Okay, so here what was happening? They nicely got economic benefit because of our country. But India started facing economic exploitation. So our country, which was a very much golden bird it was supposed to be, now it had become a poor bird. Okay, where the people itself, they were not having anything to eat. and to live where. Okay, and where to live, how to live, what to eat. Okay, all this was a very big question mark in front of the Indian people. Okay, all the wealth was being dragged away or taken away by the Britishers to their own country for the benefit of their own country. Okay, while India was facing economic exploitation. Okay, till here everyone has understood, children? We'll continue the rest part of the lesson in the next lecture. Till then, thank you.